I'm Theo Montgomery, 31, and right now I'm sitting in my half-packed apartment, staring at the engagement ring that was supposed to mean forever. It's wild how fast things fell apart, how quickly love can turn into threats, lawyers, and drama. It all began 2 years ago at a friend's birthday dinner in Atlanta. That's where I met Marissa Jameson. She was 28, sharp, stylish, in the middle of her MBA, and interning at a big marketing firm. I was a software engineer who'd caught an early break. Back in college, I built a productivity app that sold for $1.4 million when I was 24. After taxes and clearing my student loans, I walked away with about $900,000. I didn't live extravagantly. I bought a modest townhouse, invested most of it, drove a used Tesla, wore the same watch for years, and kept a pretty low profile. Most people thought I was just another IT guy. Marissa learned about the sale early in our relationship, but she didn't make a big deal out of it. For the first year, she was everything I wanted, driven, funny, and full of ambition. We clicked. 6 months ago, I proposed. She said yes, teary-eyed and smiling, and we started planning a small wedding for the fall. Then came the prenup talk. One night at her apartment, I mentioned that I'd just met with my lawyer to set up a simple agreement, nothing extreme, just something to keep our premarital assets separate. Anything earned during the marriage, we'd split evenly. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. A prenup? Seriously? She asked. Yeah, I replied calmly. Your student loans stay yours. My investments stay mine. Everything else, 50-50ths. She dropped her fork. If you loved me, you wouldn't need to protect yourself from me. You should trust me. I do trust you, I said. But this is just smart planning, it protects us both. She started crying. So, I'm just some gold digger to you? Is that it? I tried to explain, but she wouldn't hear it. Finally, she snapped. If you need legal protection to marry me, maybe we shouldn't get married at all. That line stuck in my head. Something about how fast she turned from hurt to furious didn't sit right with me. So, I called my mom. She's a retired accountant, sharp, no nonsense. I told her what happened, and she asked, "What's your plan?" I told her I wanted to transfer my investments and the townhouse into her name temporarily, just to see how Marissa would react. Mom hesitated but agreed. If she's not about the money, this won't change anything, she said. Within a week, I had everything moved over legally. On paper, I now only own my car, some savings, and my $15,000 a year salary. That night, I told Marissa. You were right, I said. We don't need a prenup. I cancelled it. Her face lit up. She jumped into my arms, kissing me all over. This is what real love looks like, she said. Then I added, I also transferred my investments and the house to my mom for estate planning. She froze. You gave your money to your mom. Technically, yes, but we still have my salary. That's enough to build with, right? Her voice went cold. That money was supposed to be our future. I thought this wasn't about money, I said. She stood up. I need to think. The next day, I got a letter from her lawyer accusing me of fraudulent asset dissipation and breach of promise to marry, demanding I reverse all transfers and pay for emotional distress. I laughed and sent it to my lawyer, who told me it was intimidation and that I was within my rights. That night, Marissa showed up at technically my mom's, townhouse crying at my door. Against my better judgment, I answered with the chain still on. Baby, please, she said. That letter wasn't me. My friend Jordan made me do it. I was just hurt. I stayed calm. You said marriage was about trust, but now you're threatening lawsuits. This proves why I needed a prenup. She stormed off. But she wasn't finished. 3 days later, my mom called to say Marissa and her mother had shown up at her house trying to convince her to transfer the assets back. Her mom even offered to mediate between us. What did you say? I asked. I told them they had 60 seconds to get off my porch before I called the cops, my mom said. Legend. Then came the smear campaign. I started getting Facebook DMs from her friends. You broke her heart. You're choosing money over love. You're manipulative. HR at work even contacted me after an anonymous complaint accused me of making financially threatening remarks toward a coworker's friend. Turns out, Marissa's roommate worked at my company. HR dismissed it, but I was done playing nice. The last straw was when she tried to rent the apartment right above the one I was moving into. The property manager called for a reference. She had listed me. I told them, absolutely not, we're going through a hostile breakup. She didn't get the place. After that, she created a fake email account pretending to be me and cancelled our wedding vendors, trying to stick me with the fees. My lawyer had to step in to stop charges from hitting my card. Then came her blog, when a man hides his heart and wallet star. She used the fake name Troy but made it obvious it was me. She accused me of manipulation, narcissism, and financial betrayal. Post after post painted me as the villain. When his mom becomes the mistress, the prenup trap, gaslighting by asset transfer. Her lawyer friend even wrote a guest piece calling my actions financial abuse. The comments were brutal. Strangers called me a monster. By then, I wasn't even angry anymore, just amazed at how far someone could go when love turned into war. The call from my advisor was the last thing I expected. Remember that startup stock you bought for $8000 a few years ago? He asked. Yeah, I said cautiously. Well, that company just got acquired. Your mom's portfolio is up by $420,000. The asset my mother had fought to receive was now worth nearly $500,000, and she would never touch it. That night, one final message from her appeared on my phone. You'll regret this when you're old and alone. No one will ever love you like I did. I answered, your love came with legal threats and lawsuits. I'll take my chances. Then I blocked her, closed my laptop, exhaled deeply, poured a drink, and allowed myself the smallest smile. I thought it was over. It wasn't. 3 weeks later, outside my office building, a process server handed me a folder. Good luck, man, he said grimly, as if I'd just been drafted into a war. Inside, Marissa Jameson versus Theo Montgomery star. She was suing me. The list of claims was absurd. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraudulent misrepresentation, unjust enrichment, and, unbelievably, breach of promise to marry. She'd even attached screenshots of our texts and engagement photos, insisting I had tricked her into making life-changing choices. Her lawyers argued she'd given up career opportunities and relocated based on the expectation of financial stability. We had never even lived together. My lawyer, Thomas, flipped through the papers and muttered, "This is like someone trying to sue gravity for falling. She thinks she's entitled to half of what I gave my mom." I asked. "She thinks if she throws enough legal spaghetti at the wall, something might stick," he said. "But this is her last gasp, not her victory." We filed a motion to dismiss every charge, and then waited. While the case crawled forward, she went all in online. Cryptic TikToks about surviving financial betrayal, anonymous Reddit q/and as, and even a local podcast titled Healing After Manipulation star. I ignored it all. I focused on rebuilding my peace. But she wasn't content with civil court or social media. She filed a police report claiming I'd defrauded her out of marital assets, pressured her into a prenup, and financially abused her. She even submitted a cancelled wedding venue contract as proof she'd committed to marriage in good faith. The detective who called me sounded almost amused. "Mr. Montgomery, unless you were married or she had her name on your accounts, this doesn't even come close to criminal fraud." Case closed. The civil case, however, dragged on. Depositions, document requests, fishing expeditions for any scrap of leverage, texts, emails, bank records. We gave them everything. And it backfired spectacularly. During discovery, my lawyer found 1. Messages between her and her attorney friend discussing how to scare me straight with legal threats. 2. A burner Reddit account where she admitted she was just making noise, hoping I'd reverse the asset transfers. 3. Proof she was interviewing for jobs in another city shortly before our engagement, undermining her claims of commitment. The knockout blow? My mother had placed the assets into an irrevocable trust. Even if we'd been married, she wouldn't have been able to touch them. When her lawyer realized this, his tone changed. He suggested a quiet settlement. Settle for what? Thomas laughed. She never lived with him. Paid no rent. Contributed to nothing. She has no case. We refused. The judge dismissed every claim except emotional distress, but even that collapsed quickly. In court, we showed evidence of her harassment campaign, emails, blog posts, LinkedIn updates, even the podcast appearance. The judge peered at her over his glasses. Miss Jameson, are you aware that this level of public commentary on a private dispute severely undermines your claim of emotional harm? She had nothing to say. Case dismissed, with prejudice. She could never refile. Then it was my turn. We countersued for defamation and malicious prosecution. We had undeniable proof she'd smeared my name online. Suddenly, she wanted to talk settlement. She offered to delete everything, issue a public retraction, and walk away if I dropped my case. Thomas asked, "Do you want to ruin her or erase her?" "Erase her," I said without hesitation. We agreed on 2 conditions. 1. She would post a public apology admitting her accusations were based on misunderstandings and emotional distress, not fact. 2. She would send written withdrawals to every vendor, site, and platform where she had posted false claims. She complied reluctantly. Within a week, the blog disappeared, the podcast episode was gone, the LinkedIn updates vanished. Her apology stayed up for 2 days before she deleted all her accounts entirely. Marissa Jameson simply disappeared. I didn't celebrate. I didn't boast. I just moved forward. 3 months later, my mom sold the stock and, legally, gifted me part of the profit. Transferring the assets had saved me emotionally, financially, and legally, all because I hadn't caved when someone said, "You should trust me." Now I'm in Austin. New city, new job, new peace. I'm dating again, slowly and carefully. I don't lead with money, but I do lead with honesty. And if someone hesitates at the mention of a prenup, I don't brush it aside. If someone truly loves you, they won't object to putting it in writing.